Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and this is a special edition of my For My Students video series. This one is about smartphones, but I'm going to give you guys a couple of quick notes before I get into the meat and potatoes of this particular presentation. The first one is about Ubuntu Linux, otherwise known as Bionic Beaver. Now, this particular note is about the Exist database. Okay, I have had some troubles getting the Exist database to start up in Ubuntu 18.04, otherwise known as the Bionic Beaver. I have been in contact with the Exist database people. They are trying to get this thing to work on my system. However, I wanted to let you know that there was a SVG video that I was going to create, and I'm going to still create it. It was called Object Overlap. I actually was able to create the program, and I also was able to save all the notes, and I sent it to my other computer. So I have all those notes ready to go. All I have to do is make the presentation. I will upload that. But as for Exist running in Ubuntu 18.04, I have not yet been successful in getting it to run. And as soon as I am, then we'll create more projects, okay? So bear with me, that's coming. Alright, now as for the other note, this is about the YouTube Partnership Program, okay? I have seen a lot of this, and I wanted to let you guys know what's going on out there. It's about partner program. These people wanted to become a part of the partner program, and so what they're having is these YouTube parties where they go live stream. Now this sounds like an excellent way to get YouTube watch time. It can be if, one, you have an unlimited data plan. If you're on Comcast, you probably don't have an unlimited data plan. You usually have a 1 terabyte data plan. And so going live stream can actually hurt your data plan. So if you're on a limited data plan, don't go live stream. Unless you're at a hotspot somewhere where you could just do these presentations all the day long and not go against your data plan. Okay? Some people have unlimited, I don't. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I am not having YouTube watch parties. Okay? I'd love to go live stream, but I just can't afford it against my data plan. It just won't work. Besides, I don't have that much time to sit there for hours on end to do that. Now the thing is that if you're going to have a YouTube watch party, make sure you're going to have a bunch of people actually watching you. Make sure you have relevant make sure you have relevant content to present to them that would cause them to continue to watch you, because they could click off in the first couple of minutes and then you have done all the live stream for nothing. And that's not something you want to do. Okay? So I am well aware of these YouTube watch parties. They're great, but if you're watching them, you're helping them get their partnership. But the thing is, if you go live stream, you're going against your data limit. We hope you're not, but you could be. And two, if you don't present any relevant content, it's still not going to help you. You presented all that video footage for nothing. And we don't want you doing that. So, let's not do that. Now, let's go into the meat and potatoes of this particular presentation now. Let's see. In this video, I will discuss my reasons for telling everyone not to purchase anything using their smartphones. There were several reasons why I stated this. First of all, my video on smartphones, this is the one I gave you a tutorial about how to work the smartphone, okay? It was a double test. Number one, to see if you would actually get to the part where I actually told you not to make those purchases using the smartphone. That's test number one. Test number two, I wanted to see how you would react to this. I did get a couple of thumbs down on it. I'm assuming that those people actually watched all the way through. I'm hoping those same people are watching this tonight. Okay? Now then, it saddens me to say that many of my students didn't watch the entire presentation, which is a detriment to them. I wish they had. They would have learned a lot more, but they didn't. I can't control that. But hopefully, you students will go ahead and watch that. Now then, why don't I want people to purchase anything on a smartphone? The main reason is that many of my students simply don't comprehend the technology that they have in their hands. In this video, I'm going to illustrate my point. Okay? So at the end, you're going to see, yes, you can order things off of a smartphone if you're smart. If your smartphone is smarter than you, you really shouldn't be ordering things off your smartphone. You really shouldn't be ordering things online at all. Really. So you better start getting smarter than your smartphone. And yes, if I stutter and stammer, just bear with me. Okay? Let's start this discussion with a question. Where's your smartphone right now? Well, I know where mine is. Yeah, it's in the other room. I know where it is 24 hours a day. You should know where your smartphone is right now, too. And you should know where it is, whether you're going to bed at night, first thing in the morning, all day long. You should know where that smartphone is. And it should always be in a safe place where nobody can gain access to it. That's one of the first reasons why I do not want you ordering off a smartphone. You say, oh, I don't know where it is. You should never order it. You shouldn't even have a smartphone, much less order off one. Yeah. There is a lot of valuable information that is stored on your smartphone, specifically off your SIM card. And yes, I will be making another video about the acronym SIM so you can go ahead and understand or actually comprehend what a SIM card actually does. I'll make a whole presentation on it one of these days, very, very soon, so hang in there. It's coming. Alright? But this valuable information, your name, possibly your social security number, definitely your credit card number. Need I go on all this? All of that is stored in your internal memory, specifically probably on your SIM card. Do you really want that to fall into the wrong hands? I don't. Okay? Do you want some total stranger to have all that information? I really don't. But I do know that many of my students, not all of them, I know I have some smart ones out there, I really do, but many of them, I've heard this too many times. Well, I just don't know where my smartphone is. Are you kidding me? Really? If you're watching me on your smartphone right now, you're doing good. You know where it is. But if you're watching me on a laptop or whatever, you're sitting there going, I don't know where my smartphone is. Oh, please. Don't do that. Don't do that. You might as well say, here, thief. Here's all my personal information. Go ahead and identity theft me. Really bad idea. Alright. So what else should you know? Well, thing is that many of my students, for whatever reason, don't use good passwords. Sometimes they'll use the word password as their password. No! Don't do that! That's silly. You would think that they know to do better, but not all of them. Okay? If you're using the word password for your password, you might as well just give the thieves your money. Might as well. Okay? But then I have other students, and they say, oh, but I'm smarter. I use my birthday or my children's birthday as my password. Seriously? And you have a Facebook, right? You say, well, okay, they might have learned my birthday from my Facebook page, but they didn't learn my kids' birthdays. Oh, yes, they did. You know why? Because you made a public post. Okay, you made a public post about your children's birthday. Just hand the thieves your money. might as well go ahead. You know what? A much better way to handle this particular situation is to find obscure computer terms. If you ever need an obscure computer term, I'd be more than happy to provide you 1 or 2 or 3, or just search the net for very obscure computer terms. Use those as passwords. Let me tell you something. Thieves are not going to do massive research to find obscure computer terms. And even if they do, they don't know which one you've used. And some of those websites only give you 2 to 3 tries to get it right. Well, the odds of them guessing an obscure computer term, specifically the one you used, totally against them. So, yeah, when you're doing passwords, use obscure computer terms. It's much better that way. Okay. Then I have other students that'll say, well, my smartphone is so secure. I use tough passwords. Of course, I always use the show password feature on my phone. Seriously? Really? Duh. Okay. You say, well, if I don't use the show password feature, I won't know what I'm typing. Well, that's the whole point of the password text box. And I taught that to you guys in my HTML video series, which of course I know that some of you watched, some of you didn't. The ones who didn't, shame on you. You'd learn a lot of this stuff if you'd watch my videos a little more often. You might be better protected if you did that. Alright, now the thing is, if you want to use the show password feature, well, that's okay if you are in your home where nobody's looking. But let's say you're on a park bench somewhere, in the middle of a park. You say, well, they can't see me. Let's just imagine for a second that, let's just imagine for the second that this is a smartphone. It's not, but let's imagine that this was. Let's say I was 20 feet behind you sitting at a nearby park bench with the camera on. Now I'm looking at your screen and I can tell exactly what you're doing. I take a video of that and I know your password. That's all I need. Of course, I would never do anything like that, but there are thieves that would actually do that. Wrong. Totally wrong. Okay? Well, nobody's standing next to me, so they won't see my screen. Yeah. Let's say the guy's sitting 20, 25 feet away. Did you know that some of those smartphones have a zoom feature on the actual camera? They can zoom in, take a video, and you're done. Okay. Then we have our smarter students. Well, I don't use the show password feature when I'm in the park, but I'm sure people can't follow my keystrokes. Seriously? They're watching your keystrokes very intently. You know what the first thing I'd do? If I was in a park somewhere, I'd find a building, a pavilion if nothing else, and I'd put my back to the building itself. That would keep thieves that were behind me from ever seeing my computer screen. Secondly, I would get a portable QWERTY keyboard that is Bluetooth interface, or possibly has a USB that will actually interface with the smartphone. I would never type on the screen. I really wouldn't. And more importantly, I would build an apparatus around the sides and the top of the screen, so that way they couldn't look over you or they couldn't look to the side either on the screen. You do that, you'd be a lot better off. And I'm sure they probably have apparatuses like this. Let me tell you something. Do you know why they have those special coverings on ATMs so people can't see your keystrokes? It's the same thing with a smartphone. Start doing that. When you're out in public, make sure that there's some kind of an apparatus around your smartphone where the thieves cannot see your screen and they cannot see what you're typing. It is a lot harder when you're using a QWERTY keyboard that is separate from the smartphone and typing the way I type to actually detect your keystrokes than to do what you're doing and typing on that screen. You're actually faster on the QWERTY keyboard, and it's a lot harder to detect because you're using all your fingers instead of just like one or two. Okay. Alrighty. What's the next one? Well, I don't want my online ordering to go against my data limit. That's their excuse for going to the park and getting a hotspot. So I always use a free hotspot. Well, let me tell you something. Comcast provides me with free hotspots. Okay? So if I go to a particular hotspot, I sign into Comcast and I get a secure connection on one of their free hotspots. That's like a gift to me when I'm not in my house. Okay? So that doesn't go against my data limit. It's secured, but it doesn't go against my data limit. So that's a nice little feature. But like I said, it's also secured. Not all Wi-Fi hotspots are secure. So use the ones that they say is secure, because if you don't use one that's secure, you might as well be giving those thieves all your money and everything else. So bear that in mind. Now, if you're using an Android phone, which I hope you are, because you know how I feel about anything that's Apple. If it's from Apple, I'm not fond of it in any way, shape, or form. But an Android phone usually has a little slot on the side of the phone that will accommodate a micro SD card. Now, I don't know whether Apple will accommodate, if you have one of their iPhones, I don't know if it will accommodate a flash drive, a portable flash drive. It might. I don't know. But if it does, have a portable flash drive. Okay? There are plenty of free text editing software. Okay? There's these apps, these free text editing apps on the Google Play Store. And I'm sure they have them on the Apple Store too. Okay? They're free. They are text editing apps. You can actually store your passwords on a micro SD card or on a flash drive and then copy and paste that to your website before you order. And that way your passwords never get stored in your internal memory. The most important thing to do is to make sure your passwords are never stored in your internal memory. That way, if the thieves actually do get a hold of your phone, it's useless to them. Okay? Just make sure that if you're using a micro SD card or you're actually using a flash drive or some Bluetooth device to send the password from your whatever it is to the actual website. Okay? You're doing the copy and paste thing. Now you say, well, how do I copy and paste? Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to hold down your finger on whatever password you're getting from your micro SD. You're going to hold down your finger on that password, and then these two little bars will appear. One on the left, one on the right. You can extend them out if you need to, whatever. And then when you lift your finger up, it's going to show the copy and paste option. You hit copy, and then you tap on the place where you want to paste your password, and then you hit paste, and there it goes. And that's how you do that. But make sure that when you're done ordering, you take out that micro SD card or that flash drive so that the passwords are separate always from the internal memory of the phone. That'll save you a lot of hassle. Now, the app I installed, which is totally free, is called the Simple Text Editor. Literally, that's the name of it. It's an Android app. It's called Simple Text Editor. Okay? Now, to open a file on the micro SD card, there are these three vertical dots. You hit the three vertical dots, and it's going to be up on the upper right corner of the screen. and then you open up your document, which will have your passwords in it. Like I said, you're just going to put your finger on it, copy, paste, boom, you're done. Okay? Now, another thing you can do to keep thieves out of your phone is you can actually, when you're not using your phone, you can actually take the SIM card out or the battery out. Either one. And even if you pretend to do it, whether you actually do it, if the thief honestly thinks that one of those two components is not in your phone anymore, they aren't going to steal your phone. And I'll tell you why. Because if you remove your SIM card, they can't access the internal memory of your phone. If you take the battery out, they're not going to go. They want a quick heist. They really do. They want to grab the phone, get the information out of it, and then lose the dang thing. They don't want that thing around them forever. Well, if you take the battery out, the first thing they're going to have to do is buy a new battery for the phone before they can ever access the information. They're not going to go to all that trouble. They really aren't. So the best thing you do is that when you're not using your phone, either take the battery out or take the SIM card out. Doesn't matter, either one. Or just pretend to do it. If the thief thinks that one of those two components is out of there, they're less likely to steal the phone. Really. Okay? Hang in there. Let me make sure I got... Now, another thing you have to understand about smartphones is that they can contain something called a cache. Now, it's not like cash as you spend at a restaurant or at a grocery store or something like that. This is a different type of cache, okay? This is specific computer memory that is set aside to save parts of a web page. Okay, if you had to download the web page every single time that you were trying to access it with your smartphone, it would take you forever to load those web pages onto your smartphone. However, the computer has a specific part of its memory called a cache, and it stores pieces of that web page. And if the web page doesn't change, okay, let's say Amazon doesn't change all that much, it does change, but not all that much, or Facebook, or YouTube, or whatever, if it doesn't change all that much, then those parts of the web page are already in your memory. All the computer then has to do is load up the rest. Okay? But because of this cache feature, and it's spelled C-A-C-H-E, I know it's spelled that way, but it's called cache. Because of this feature, it could potentially store your passwords. Okay? It could be mirrored. And don't even ask me about mirroring. It would take me far too long to explain that particular computer term to you. I'm not going to explain it in this particular video, but it can be mirrored. So, definitely do not let a bunch of stuff get stored in your computer's internal memory. There are ways to purge your browser history, and that's how you actually purge the cache, by purging your browser history. And there are ways to do it. Look them up. I will give you one suggestion. On an Android device, if you're constantly using Google Chrome, look at the upper right corner. You will see 3 horizontal lines. If you touch the lines, then touch the settings option and the security option, you can touch the clear cache. It'll clear all that cache out. Okay? Now, and the last thing I'm going to talk about in this particular video is when you look at the web address, okay, and I have talked about this many times in the past. I've talked about web addresses. I've talked about the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If you have not watched those videos, go to the computer technology part of my YouTube channel. I have a dozen playlists that'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. HTTP is not secure. But if you see HTTPS, it is secure. It's actually encrypted. So whatever you send across the internet, it's secured. Okay? So, if you need to know more about that, you can go ahead and take a look at that. Never order from a website that does not have HTTPS. If you do, you're doing it at your own risk. Okay. So, that's pretty much all I've got to say in this particular presentation. I thank you very much for watching this. If you follow those procedures, you can actually order off of a smartphone. The best thing I can suggest to you is if you really need to order off of a smartphone, do it in your own home. That way people aren't looking over your shoulder. They can't see your keystrokes. You don't have to necessarily take out your SIM card or your battery to make sure that nobody's getting into your phone. You don't necessarily have to clear your cache when you're doing it at your house. Just make sure that if you're ordering outside of your house, find a secure hotspot. Make sure everything has HTTPS. It'll save you a lot of aggravation. Follow my rules and you can order off of a smartphone. You don't, you might as well just be giving the thieves everything you have. Really. Alright. That's all I've got to say for tonight. I do want to thank you for watching this particular presentation. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know. You guys all have a great week, and if it's not this week that you're watching this or some other time, I hope you have a great week wherever it is. I will tell you more in future videos, so I would like for you to stay tuned.